right. So, I'm Hannah Taylor. I work for the Lippin Group, communications consultancy for media and entertainment companies, creators and content, and a former sports journalist. So I'm really excited about our panel today with 4 experts on this topic. So instead of me introducing you, I'd really love to just go down the line here and have each of you give a brief introduction to your organizations, your role, and specifically how it relates to sports and original content. Sara, I'll start with you.
Great. I'm Sara Ray. I am head of Unscripted at Hello Sunshine, company started by Reese Witherspoon in 2016. And I joined the company in 2020, and over the past, on the unscripted side, and we really beefed up that area of the company. The mission is to put women at the center of stories. So all of the things you'll hear from us are around women's sports. Good timing for me. But we've been around since 2016, and we are very excited to be here.
I'm Lauren Fisher. I'm a VP and Executive Creative Director at Religion of Sports. If you attended the talk just before this, you met Gautam Chopra, my boss and one of the co-founders of Religion of Sports, along with Tom Brady and Michael Strahan. We've been around just about as long as Hello Sunshine, since about 2014, 15. And I've been with the company officially for 2 years. I've worked with Religion of Sports for many years, but most recently I co-directed In the Arena Serena Williams, an 8-part series that covered Serena's entire illustrious career on ESPN Plus, Hulu, and Disney. And yeah, this company, if you attended Gautam's talk, which I hope you did, if you didn't, please check it out online. The whole ethos and spirit behind this company is finding the universal truths that can be found within the world of sports, what the GOATs can teach us. And yeah, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. I'm Trevor Gill. I'm a VP of Sports Development at Vice TV, part of Vice Media, heading the sports development for the network. So we look for sports documentaries, formats, talk shows that kind of lean into the unfiltered, edgy, authentic stories of sports. I was at ESPN Films and 30 for 30 for many years before that, and Time Studios at Time Magazine. And yeah, really excited to talk sports content.
And I'm Whit Jackson. I'm Vice President of Media and Entertainment at Wasabi Technologies. A little bit of a different person on this panel. We're not content creators, we're content enablers. So Wasabi is a global cloud storage service company. We also have an AI service that will tag content that's stored in our clouds, enabling indexing of very large, massive archives to make them infinitely searchable for particular moments, a particular player scoring a goal with a logo behind them. So we're enabling content creators to get to moments faster, speed their production along, and get that vision out.
Thank you all so much. Before we dive into the nuts and bolts of original content, I want to take a step back, because we're in an era right now of instantaneous news. People's attention spans are shorter. They're getting their content on social media, just reading headlines. Media companies are investing in aggregated content, but original content is here to stay, and all your organizations are investing in that. So I'm curious to hear from you why you are and why you feel original content and often long form content has such staying power in this industry.
Sure. I'll kick it off. I just believe long form storytelling with heart, soul, and depth is so important. And look, I'll scroll on short form content for hours on end. But when you really want to get invested in a character and a story with an arc and a journey that's bigger than itself, you'll never beat long form content. And that's what excites me.
Well, yeah, I think it's apples and oranges, really. I don't think either one is antithetical to the other. I think they actually really can serve each other, these two types of formats. And I totally agree that, and I think people crave that level of depth because of how much media we get. People want to go deeper. They are craving authenticity and craving getting closer to the people that maybe you see them on social. Get the highlights, right? But then that opportunity to be intimately connected with athletes and teams is, I think, an insatiable kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think sports fans are some of the most engaged fans of any genre. I'm a diehard sports fan, and like I can never get enough sports content. So yes, I'm on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube watching highlights and watching interviews and press conferences. But like you want that camera where you can't get that on social media. You want those sort of raw, unfiltered moments. And yeah, I think fans just like crave that, like you guys are saying. And the more in depth you can go, and I think players and teams, athletes are seeing that as well. That like when their helmets come off, hats come off, like their personalities come out more, and helps them sort of connect more with their fans in ways that you can't get in a press conference or in a highlight. And I think that's just continuing to expand.
Yeah, I think just people love the backstory. You know, they want to be taken on the journey and let their minds be suspended for a few hours and really dig into it. So they'll never go away.
Yeah, thank you. I want to spend quite a bit of time on sports documentaries because all of you have produced some really, really incredible work and have much upcoming. Before we dive into that, we have a few clips to play from Religion of Sports, Hello Sunshine, and Vice. So let's get a little sneak preview of Religion of Sports. I think some of you may have seen this with Gotham, but we're gonna play it again because it's very, very entertaining. Awesome. Yeah, unbiased opinion.
It took years. I was very wild, very funky. Couldn't straighten my legs, point my toes.
I was just a kid from Compton. My whole game was hitting lobs and drop shots, dreaming of getting to a grand slam.
Come on, Steph. You gotta make your first shot.
When I first knew I was good, I scored 60 in an 8th grade game.
Everybody tells me I have a pretty strong arm, which is good. I'm pretty accurate with it.
I've never seen anyone play this position better than Tom Brady now.
Football has been that meditative place for me where I knew that I could control what the outcome was.
Imagine Tom Brady playing quarterback and then going out and being the best linebacker.
高い目標はありましたけど、チームスポーツですし。
Shohei Ohtani, the greatest player on planet Earth.
The story of Usain Bolt has entered the realm of legend.
I was put on this earth to run. I was meant for this.
He scores the 100-point basket.
They say records are made to be broken. There's not a chance in the world that anybody will even come close.
The gymnast universally recognized as the greatest ever.
This has been her destiny.
Rio was the highlight of my life. And at the end of the trip, I said, I just achieved my greatest feat at 19. What the heck am I supposed to do with the rest of my life?
A lot of it is the battle of identity. You know, I was really struggling with who I was and who I wanted to be.
I'm realizing that we're only all here for a short amount of time.
There's a hell of a lot more life to live than singing a song on stage.
It's a high-pressure situation. This life.
I think it's important to understand that my family's name has been in the media since I was 7 years old.
And if you defend yourself, oh, you're just so sensitive. First of all, I am sensitive. I'm also human, though.
I actually was struggling with anxiety for a little while.
As we were walking, there was a number of people gawking. By golly.
It's hard to be the black guy who everybody's looking at because it doesn't make you feel more safe in the world.
There's still prejudice in America. Newsflash.
Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, Kareem. Without those guys standing for something that was more than dribbling a basketball, I'm not sitting here talking to you.
The world's cursed with a multitude of challenges. Society struggles to fix these problems. Could the answer have been football all along?
I think it's good to show what her journey has been, how much she has done.
No one's a superhero. Greatness isn't perfection. Greatness is the ability to have grit and overcome, no matter what.
You need to see that there is beauty in the struggle. There is beauty in the trial that you're going through.
We all can be masters at our craft, but you have to make a choice.
I didn't need to blend in. I needed to be different because I was different.
We're not at the end yet.
I'm going for another Olympic run.
This is the moment I wanted. Finally got it. Say my name and they switch up the topic. Pay my dues, now I'm all in their pockets. Play the game, I keep moving the chains. 100 miles an hour, stay in your lane.
I never dreamed I would win all those numbers.
That's why the legacy matters.
I get to write my own ending.
They cannot say who's the greatest. without them saying my name.
When we're asking why original content, I think you just need to watch that video and answers the question. Lauren, I'll start with you with this question. Sports documentaries have been around for a long time, but it seems like since 2020, we've seen a really big surge in them in the marketplace. And I'm curious, in the past 5 years, what do you feel the appeal of a sports documentary is, and why are they worth investing in?
I think something happened. I mean, I even noticed it just in my own career that during the pandemic, like sports, our need for them, I think, became heightened. Like our need for something that continues, something that is greater than us, something that, yes, sports can be very political and sports can be obviously affected by what's going on in the world. But there's something about sports that I think for many feels like an escape. And I think because people really doubled down on that, ironically, in a lot of ways, when we were all separated and we couldn't be together in the stadiums and the arenas, I think people's passion for sports and fandom got bigger during that time. And honestly, I don't have that's my explanation for it. It probably doesn't cover all of it, but I just noticed since then that hunger for these stories, that doubling down on sports and fandom, has only grown.
Mm-hmm. And Sara, you don't just do sports at Hello Sunshine, but why sports? Why are you working in the?
Well, I've always loved sports, and the stakes are always there with sports. The highs and the lows are just there, and they're relatable and aspirational all at the same time, because you're talking about greatness. Yet when to Trevor's point, when they take off the gear, they're humans just like everybody else, and to watch athletes and teams and leagues go through great triumphs and great failures, very relatable. But I remember the day we were taking out a surfing show with no really women's surfing show. Everything we do as women at the center. And everyone responded in a way that shocked me. There weren't big names. There wasn't big name talent. And I said, oh my goodness, the world is waking up to women's sports. And I remember being so excited. We showed that show in the room and are working on doing more. And it just really clicks for me. And for us, it's not just sports, it's in women's sports. And we're just so excited that everybody's paying attention.
We're definitely going to get more into women's sports a little bit later. Trevor, Vice TV has recently rebranded and launched its Vice Sports division, and you're at the center of that. Why, and what do you find is the appeal to the audience right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think to add on to all the things we're already saying, I think we're a cable channel, and people watch cable a lot through live sports, and that audience is already there. So we're trying to lean into that audience that's watching the live games, whether it's before or after, or maybe there's a night where your team isn't playing, and our content can kind of serve that whole. And yeah, I mean, I think the stakes in sports are just natural for storytelling, whether it's 4 quarters, 2 halves, 6-month season, you can build a story so naturally through there. And yeah, the stakes are huge. And sports are also global. So we're looking to do things for Vice TV, but also produce content and we can sell.
Mm-hmm. Whit, you have this incredible portfolio, whatever you want to call it, of content through Wasabi, and some of that you have production companies that use that content. How does that relationship work, and how would you describe it?
Yeah, absolutely. So our customers, I mean, we're a large data storage company. So we have over 100,000 customers around the globe for many different types of industries and businesses and IT, obviously. But we have a number of sports leagues that use us, Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, Premier Lacrosse, individual teams across all types of sports, colleges and universities. And, we kind of come into these projects where they're looking to aggregate archives, bring, everything together into a centralized place and leverage that for new storytelling, fan engagement, really. So one of our, kind of marquee customers is Liverpool Football Club, which, by some measures can be considered the most popular sports franchise in the world. 500,000 fans, I think 1.5 billion fan engagements a year. and they're producing their own documentaries for their own 24-hour television channel, LFC TV. So, there's when Stevie met Mo, Steve Gerrard, Mo Salah, Bobby, the story of Roberto Firmino, coming from Maceió in Brazil, very poor upbringing, all the way to the Premier League, ultimately becoming a champion, English Premier League championship. And it's just, kind of from our perspective, it's like, oh gosh, that stuff was sitting in our storage, and here it is as a film.
Yeah. And for all these documentaries, they're looking for archival footage, highlights.
I think most of the documentaries all need some little bit of archive or some historical footage, to create the story. Yeah.
Right. The unsung heroes are the archival. Anybody who works in that world are the unsung heroes of doc filmmaking.
And when we hear a pitch that's like untapped archival, that makes our eyes light up. Yeah.
Absolutely. And on top of that, it's also the live footage. As we said, the market's become a little saturated with sports documentaries now. There are a lot of them out there. A lot of companies are doing it. Athletes have founded their own companies, et cetera. How do you get your product to stand out? I mean, there's so many factors in that. Is it telling the best stories with the best characters, finding the right talent, all the above? How would you describe it?
Yes, and more. And we always ask ourselves, why does the world need this now? What's the current relevancy of this story and these? You have to have great characters. You have to have great access. You have to have, but you also need to be in a time and place that can resonate with people, and making sure that you lean into the story to where it attracts the sports audience, but we always challenge ourselves to make sure that it has much greater reach. Because if you look at, this is kind of a cheesy example, but if you look at the Rocky movie, you didn't have to like boxing to watch Rocky. As a universally beloved movie. And so we look at our documentaries to say, how are we reaching everybody? And then how is this bigger than yourself?
Mm-hmm. And sports help with that. I mean, even if you're not a sports fan, a lot of these stories have universal appeal.
Lauren, heard of them. Like for us, like there's only so many goats, like you run out of goats kind of quickly, and like we can revisit. One of our things we pride ourselves on is that we don't want any of our shows to be a one and done thing. What does that mean? It doesn't mean doing the same show over and over again, but building a relationship. Because as to your point, a lot of these athletes, especially when they retire, like they want to be in the storytelling business because they're good at storytelling. They've lived, 1,000 lives within just their career. So that's part of it for us, but also thinking beyond goats and coming up with things that are repeatable series. And that takes a lot. That's harder. It's a harder sell. It's harder to come up with what that idea is, but that's like a big goal too. And then, the third thing too is how do you expand beyond linear? And I'm sure we're going to get to that later, but how do you create what feels like a world, around these stories that can live in a lot of different places, going back to that idea of like how things live on social or even interactive or experiential. Like those are, to me, like fun things to think about, but a little daunting as we're at the bleeding edge, but yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
I think too, like what we're trying to do is differentiate. There is so many sports documentaries and shows out there, and at Vice, we're trying to lean into kind of the independence that we have. We have some live sports, we have arena football, bare knuckle boxing, and we are trying and working with all the pro leagues, but we're not as tied as other places may be. And so because of that, we're trying to kind of push the line of where we can go tell stories that maybe other places wouldn't or couldn't. And yeah, kind of lean into what has defined Vice for the 30 plus years. But
there's also one thing that really appeals to me. It's just some of the undiscovered stuff that you're exposed to. One of my favorite sports type movies is Free Solo, the story of Roger Honnold, the climber, and doing the free ascent of El Capitan. And never heard of the person before, and someone told me to check this movie out. And, it's an edge of the seat kind of adventure with a really interesting human story behind the whole thing. So, that's a whole nother element of it.
Absolutely. And all different kinds of sports documentaries. And Trevor, you'll explain this better, but Vice recently launched 2 series on Rick Pitino and John Calipari, following them live, really, as their seasons were wrapping up and heading into the postseason. So we have a clip I want to show that, Trevor, I'll let you describe. But this was a clip that went viral from the Pitino docuseries called Red Storm Rising.
Dig in and be a basketball player. Dig in. Every time you miss a shot, your game deflates. We don't care about your missed shots. Play defense. You guys keep blowing opportunity upon opportunity upon opportunity. You're like children with bad things happening. Instead of digging in and be tougher, you wilt. Where is your toughness? Where have you guys been raised that you're so weak mentally that you just give up when something doesn't go right for you? Don't you know what adversity is all about? That's the game of life, not the game of basketball. You don't get down when things go wrong. You dig in and get tougher. Your whole life's going to be adversity. Learn how to deal with it.
Patino, Red Storm Rising, Tuesdays at 10 on Vice.
That's raw, very raw footage.
You know, people might have mixed opinions on if you want to hear that as a player, but the fact is, so they were down 13, they came back, they won the game. It's not about that. It's about, I think, the sort of unfilteredness of Rick Pitino there. And that's what, put out on Twitter. Got huge pickup, over 100 million impressions that ended up on the Tonight Show. Pitino, in part because of the great season he had as well, in the top 25 for the first time in 25 years. Got him on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. But I think it's an example of like us also trying to be in the moment, where I think a lot of places it makes sense putting out content sort of months after the season's over and sort of a retrospective. These shows were very much right in time and sort of leaning on the news of the day. And because St. John's was having the season that they had, it helped get all that pickup and that traction. And yeah, I think there's a lot of different levels of access, and that is, I think that clip shows the real kind of raw grittiness of sometimes the coach isn't happy, and that's what it looks like.
Yeah. And real-time follow docs are very challenging, I imagine, from a production standpoint, business perspective. How would you describe how that went for you with these?
Yeah, no, I mean, our partners were great. So that show was produced by The Workshop, and Tom Farrell and Matt Howley and team. And then we did the Cal Party show with Omaha Productions and Evolve Studios. Both are good partners. But yeah, there were challenges that the turnaround time of those cuts, we pretty much have a game played, and then 10 days later we had an episode on the air. So I think when we first started talking about it with the production companies, they were like, oh, so you really mean like in real time? And we did. But like, you look at Hard Knocks, I mean, that's, what's sort of one of the early starters of this sort of follow genre. That's what they do. And, we tried to lead into that. We won't do that with all our shows, but, yeah, it worked here, and because we had great partners.
Yep. And as that clip shows, I mean, you clearly have built trust with Rick Pitino to have the cameras follow him, be raw in that moment. And that's such an important part of telling people's stories when you're responsible for that. How do you go about achieving that trust? What does that look like when you're kicking a project off? Lauren? Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it takes time. There isn't really, I think, a huge secret to it. I think, in our business, it's like you need to tell a story that's valuable to people. So you can't say, oh yeah, we're just going to do whatever you want and like say whatever you want to do. And like, there needs to be some sort of like risk and reward. And I think in order to get a subject comfortable in that way, you have to have quite a bit of trust. And I think, it's a testament to Gotham when he was first starting this company out, that he was able to forge those relationships without us having this really epic reel. And, that's a huge testament to him. And then I think now it's a testament to the work that we've done, that people call us, which is something we're immensely humbled by and grateful for, that, you just know that, yes, for people to care, you have to risk something. You have to be vulnerable, but also you're not going to be working with people that are like, trying to do something that is salacious or not nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it takes time to, like, the producer who did the Patina show, he had been working with Rick for 4+ years. So it wasn't like, 2 weeks before the pitch, they attached it. Like, it's a long-term relationship. Same thing with Omaha and Cal Party. Like, they've worked out with him before and other things. So yeah, it's time and trust. And like you said, there's no like magic formula. It's just relationships.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you have an opinion on that or.
Same.
Yeah.
And sometimes bringing them into the conversation and explaining that vulnerability is important.
Yes.
Success. And relatable. People actually love to see the vulnerability because they can relate.
Right. And we touched on this briefly already, but we have seen more and more athletes becoming involved directly in their own storytelling. Religion of Sports, of course, founded by two former athletes just in Gotham. What are the unique benefits and challenges of that with athletes, yeah, really telling their own stories? We'll start. Yeah, Lauren, that's what you do.
It depends. Like sometimes it's like not easy, but it's like you get into this partnership with someone that understands that. But then sometimes you're in the middle of it. You're, midstream. And then the subject is like, wait, I feel vulnerable and that's a whole conversation. And it can be tricky. I won't lie and say like, oh yeah, we just sunshine and rainbows. And it's like, great. It can hold things up. It can it's just like any human relationship, that relationship and we all know that's true. A lot of you out there are storytellers, like you're being vulnerable in it too. And you're risking something and that, ends up, always every time you have to give something. And, it's a miracle, I think, actually, a lot of times when these things work out. But yeah, they have to be vulnerable. I was talking about like Serena was pregnant, like when we were interviewing her, like there was a lot of emotion there naturally. It's all these things you don't totally anticipate in the 3 years before when we were trying to get this deal done. We didn't know that was going to be the case and that we would have to take a break in filming and then film again after the baby. So it's exciting. It's causes the gray hairs and, you gotta love it.
Yeah.
I think I've seen a little bit just working with some, athlete-based production companies, like, and agree or disagree, but I feel like the athletes like to hear from another athlete or another coach that, hey, I've done this is the process, especially first documentary, first series. It helps kind of coming from the athlete point of view and where the line is and knowing there's going to be trust. I'll also add that, like, for the coaches series we did, and sort of connecting to this conference here, I think the technology can help with sort of like making it feel less in your face in terms of smaller cameras, smaller microphones, fly on the wall type shooting where you don't have to have a full crew, in the locker room environment. So that's just something else to think about, that we think about all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting on the technology side of things that we're seeing with some of our clients where, the immediacy and letting the players tell their own stories and even like broadcasting from the locker room or perhaps the tunnel. And always interesting to come to NAB, but I saw this great product today on the Grass Valley booth from a company called Mavis, which is a camera to cloud platform. Now, when you think about it, if you're a player walking on the field, you don't want to be thinking about frame rates and lighting and all of that. But the Mavis platform allows for remote configuration of the iPhone in the person's hands. So literally the green light comes on, I'm good to go. Here I am, I'm walking into Anfield or whatever it might be. And, that broadcast moment is out there. It goes into the Grass Valley asset management system, edit platform, and boom, they can publish that right out of that moment.
Yeah, we were talking, Whit, about athletes becoming their own brand too. And you're delivering that content as you work with teams and leagues. But
yeah. It really seems to be expanding that way. Just another partner we work with is a company called ScorePlay. And usually for what we do, or what you do, there's an asset management system that sits behind everything that's capturing all of the ingest, and then kicking off various workflows. And it's interesting with ScorePlay where they've really kind of extended this into a publication platform as well too, that, not only the team or the producers can manage projects through that platform, but the individual athlete can have their account over here too and search through, find their clips. And I'm going to put it out to my social channels today.
Mm-hmm. It's not just formats of documentaries, but also the topics and maybe industries that have untapped potential. And Sara, I want to play your clip next and talk about what Hello Sunshine is doing in women's sports. Let's take a peek at that behind the scenes.
Dreams do come true.
A sold-out crowd gathers to witness history.
I mean, this is a dream come true.
And she scores! History is hers!
We're at a tipping point in women's sports. Formula One is dominated by men, but that is about to change.
Welcome to Women's Sports Now. You have never seen a sports show like this before.
Australia's newest gold medalist is the only woman to land a 900 ever.
They are making everyone that came before really, really proud.
I'm so happy to be in my lifetime that I get to see this.
Through hard work, dedication, and crime, there's no stopping.
So tough sometimes, but I love it so much.
Gonna make contact. Winning is everything. If you're second, you're the first loser.
Oh!
There's pressure. A lot of pressure.
There's days that I'm like, do I have what it takes to do this?
Gonna even be able to surf again is pretty hard.
But I guess there's a saying, pressure makes diamonds.
Such an unbelievable moment. I've got chills.
We have been preparing our minds, our hearts for this moment. Our desire is to be about something greater than ourselves.
Perfect.
What I love about that is you're seeing women's sports as sports. We were talking about this before, like the stakes are the same, the emotions. How would you describe what Hello Sunshine is doing right now in the space?
Well, it's a huge priority for us. But one thing that when we took a deep dive into the sports space, because I grew up in formats and competition, and we really got into the sports docu space, I wanted to make sure that we were telling stories of women athletes as, for lack of a better term, as competitive badasses and heroes and villains, and not, for many years, the dialogue around women's sports was almost charitable, which was really annoying. And women as a collective and equal pay and all of these things, which are super important. But the way we want to approach storytelling is with great stories and great athletes that are doing amazing things and let the rest fall into place. And so it's very important to us that it's women's sports, but they're athletes that happen to be women. And that's really sort of our guiding principle, is that we want heroes, we want villains, we want highs, we want lows. We don't want to be preachy. We just want to tell great stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're talking about appealing to universal audiences. That's what people want to see, no matter if you're a women's sports fan or not. Lauren, you also been telling great stories about sports.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been like some of our best shows. I'm a little prejudiced, but our Snowmobiles Rising, I think, is like us at the top of our game. Thank you. Like and that's, it's not necessarily like because Simone is a woman, but it also is like, that is a part of the story and like what women deal with, in some ways. Like, I think some of the most exciting, and speaking of like the saturation of the market, it's like, there's so many untold stories and there's so many new leagues. There's going to be a professional women's baseball league. The PWHL is really cool. These are like amazing stories that are unfolding. These women are complete badasses. That is the right word. And I think, it's not for a lack of desire, like by audiences. It's just putting it in front of audiences. And we've seen time and time again, once you do, people love it. They become fans. And again, it's getting past the idea of like, oh yeah, here, the charity for the ladies sports. Like it's real. Like it is really exciting. And, we're excited to announce some new things soon around women's team sports.
Looking forward to that. Yeah, maybe because there's been a lack of investment in the past, there's so many stories waiting to be told. You talked a lot about documentaries, but that's not all you all do. So I want to just touch on what other mediums and formats you're getting involved in. Trevor, you mentioned live sports. Sara, we got a small clip on there of your live to tape show, Women's Sports Now. I'll start with you because that's a new one.
Yeah, we really were looking at the marketplace and looking for a show that really talked about women's sports. It's 80% women's sports. We won't avoid men's sports, but we're really leaning into women's sports. And we launched it 3 weeks ago and it's going great. It's a blast. It's really hard. I learned. I don't have a lot of experience in talk, but it is, I'm learning fast. But it's really cool to have a place where people can turn it on and find out what's happening. Right now, it's all about March Madness, and people are showing up for it, and we're excited about it. And we're also want it to be accessible. It's the same idea with the documentaries. You don't have to know all the stats, and I've learned the term X's and O's. Apparently, that's a big thing in the sports world. You can just have a great time and learn a little bit more about sports, the teams, and the players, and it has a wink and a lot of fun, a fun tone to it. So it's been a blast. It's one for me to learn how to put on a weekly talk show, and also just to service something that hasn't been serviced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of different things beyond documentaries. As you mentioned, we have live sports, so we have arena football and bare knuckle boxing as our first two, which we're trying to, again, merge the sort of edginess of Vice with sports, and bare knuckle boxing certainly fits that. We're going to be looking to do more of that. And then, talk shows, formats. We're trying to kind of, do some hybrid sort of documentary and format type things together. So we have a show we launched a couple weeks back called The Grudge. Each episode is like a 22-minute sort of traditional cable format, looking at what it sounds like iconic sort of sports rivalries, grudges between players and coaches and teams. But it has a repeatability to it. It has the same talent on it. And we definitely are trying to build our talent more in general. So it's not going to be all the kind of hour-long documentary or follow doc stuff. We're trying to lead into nostalgia and formatize those a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. What we've talked a lot about content you've provide for documentaries and leagues and teams, but we talked about in-stadium experience being one too, which is also sort of like this live format.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, I think all of us that have attended major, sports franchises over the years, I mean, the in-stadium experience now is a show into itself. One of our customers is Vancouver Canucks, and it's just, the amount of production effort that goes into the in-game experience and, bringing in either historical or new or funny segments or, what's your favorite ice cream? I mean, all these types of things that are talked about during the game. And, that's an entirely different crew that is kind of like handling that part of it, compared to the standard broadcast crew that's there. So, and they're doing that 82 nights a year.
We're, coming up on time, and there are topics I wanted to get to, but I feel like I'll just wrap it up in one final question about what sort of trends you're seeing in the original content space right now, and how your companies are approaching it. And Lauren, I want to start with you because we've touched briefly on going beyond linear media and how you're interactive storytelling.
Yeah, coming back to that idea of like that these stories can't really exist in a vacuum anymore. The live event experience in a previous life, that was what I did. Company called The Famous Group. My buddy Andrew, I can see over here. That space and what they do and making something really immersive. There's a lot for us to learn from that. And to me, that's the word of the future. People, companies like Meta, I guess corporations are people up. Meta, Google, Apple are creating immersive platforms, sports are one of the main draws for those platforms right now. And that's something I've been thinking a lot about is like, how do we make our stories cinematic, but also immersive? How do we take these tools and bring them into those spaces? And obviously the mass audience isn't there yet, but obviously a lot of really smart people are thinking that's the direction we're going to go, or these hybrid experiences. I don't think that live experience is going to go away. I pray the linear experience doesn't go away because I personally love it. And I think that immersive experience, like those sort of three places, I think are the future, and people should be thinking with those different parts of their brains when coming up with stories.
Fascinating. Are those spaces like any of you are also thinking about, or other trends?
Yeah, I mean, I think to the point of, especially like with Vice Sports, we see that as a brand that crosses, like Vice TV is my focus, but we have a digital team, a social team, we have international, like how can we tell a story across all those different areas? If it's a show, what's the podcast version of it that can support the show or reach a new audience? What's the YouTube series that connects with the long form series? So I think that's a great point. And I also, I think there's, it seems like everything's been done, but I do think there's going to be a continuation of in the access space. How do you slice up different versions of access? I know, like, just thought this, like Apple has the World Series is now, just telling that version of the story. There's, like, we did the in-season thing. Like, what's the sort of other way to slice up the story? There's quarterbacks, following all, throughout the season. So I think there's more innovation to be done there, thinking of access in different ways rather than just a straight follow.
Yeah, it's interesting on the international segment that, we've learned from Liverpool how they're looking for particular international markets of perhaps the Asian market, let's just say, of foregrounding certain players in the live match broadcast that are popular in that region, and then creating the after show highlight package that's going to appeal to certain things within a cultural segment. And that's, kind of a different way of thinking about it, where it used to be like, here's the global feed, right? And now you're like customizing that for specific markets. And then there's the whole just fan personalization as well too, giving fans the access to the stuff that they want right now, and, kind of culling their own library.
Yeah, you hear human curation a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, on the interactive side, not less on the sports space, we are working on a couple of projects where the viewers get to engage and have a little bit more say so. And really thinking about it a lot. When I look at my 8-year-old daughter, she is very busy moving people around robots, whatever they're doing, but she's not used to just sitting back. And so it's really paying attention to what is Gen Alpha going to expect from us and preparing for that.
Yes. Almost like Gen Beta now, I think. So yeah, moving along quickly. Well, thank you, Whit, Trevor, Lauren, and Sara. I think we could have gone on a lot longer, but this was a really fun panel, and thank you all for joining us.
Good.
Thank you.